What's up, traders? It's Vincent Mokotedi here giving you the update of this weekly Forex forecast. Now, traders, without wasting further time, we do have a change of structure from last week, of course, and I'm here to cover out what we have missed during the week because obviously you guys on the free YouTube watch list, you are not on the real account traders community. So without wasting further time, let's jump into this. Firstly, this week we do have demand zone as opposed to last week, as the supply zones were nearly here, but the market just kept on pushing up, leading to the weakness of the dollar. So with that being said, traders, this is what I want to see going into this week. Now, I would like to see a continued pullback to retest the first demand zone. And as you can see or pay close attention to this, the first demand zone and the second demand zone are more or less between 15 to 20 pips from apart from each other. So we might get a strong bounce on this current levels, which are our demand zone. The first demand zone being 1.1643, the second demand zone being 1.1629. Now, this strategy of supply and demand has been working wonderfully for us throughout YouTube and even in the real account traders community. The name says it all. Real account traders community, because it is a community of those who trade real account serious funders, of course, those with the minimum of 100 US dollars. Then it will be a fantastic way for you to kickstart your trading career with us, the real account community. So let me jump into the market and analyze without talking too much. So what it is, I do expect to see a strong bounce. Look for bullish patterns and formations right around this level right here that I've just mentioned in the two demand zones. And after this, a continuation to the upside to take out structure to make a new high of this week at 1.1728. Now, this would be a great place to take profit at, or to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio to the upside, depending on how much you are risking per trade, depending again on your risk management and how many pairs you trade. All those is covered with the real account traders community, so make sure that you do not miss as we do analyze and go into details with each and every signal that we have out there. So without wasting further time, traders, this is my expectations on the euro and the dollar. I am now structured to the upside. All I want to see is a bullish momentum taking place and taking out structure to the downside right here at 1.1728. Look for buying opportunities right here. Again, another scenario that is possible is we might come deeper to retest these levels right here at 1.1600 and then look for buying opportunities again to continue to the upside. But it is highly unlikely using our supply and demand strategy that shows us that there is a high pressure around these levels that might just kick the market to the upside without having maybe an A and a B and then a C, a deeper C before continuing to the upside. I don't think this is possible, but we do update this weekly from Monday to Friday. We do the daily videos. So with that being said, traders, you have to keep not just watch the weekly forex forecast. That is why it is important for you to subscribe, like, and make sure you turn on the notification bell, because we will be updating this market movement each and every day. The London session will be covered, of course, but with the real account traders community, we cover both the London and the New York session each and every day. So with that being said, traders, this is the euro and the dollar for us. Let's go straight to the pound and the dollar. And beautiful traders, with the pound and the dollar, it's very similar to the euro and the dollar. Instead, in here we do have a bit of momentum to the upside, and we are still stuck on the upper parts of this bullish momentum. So with that being said, traders, what do I expect to see? I do expect to see this coming down here, retesting this first demand zone at 1.3402, and then looking for buying opportunities, just like this time. The first time that we reached that level, we did have bullish patterns and formations, and the market just continued to the upside. So with that being said, this would also be a great place to go and look for this. And if we do find buying opportunities right at the demand zone at 1.3402, I don't think this will make enough for you to make that more than 1:3 risk to reward ratio setup. But I do believe that 1:3 risk to reward ratio will be needed for this kind of trade. So it might be higher above, but the target right next week will be to make a new high on this signal of the pound and the dollar. Now, with that being said, traders, this is not the only possible outcome that might happen. We might find that the second possible outcome that might happen is the demand zone, of course, buying opportunities, the second demand zone, to find buying opportunities right here at 1.3366. Now, this would be a great place to look for buying opportunities only if this level here fail to hold, and then the continuation might go to the upside. Remember, traders, that we can also have 1.3340 here, but it will most definitely be a bounce to the upside to take out structure with the new high at 1.3471. Now that would be the target profit. Another thing, since it's been few weeks since we've had markets in the opening of Monday, we find that the markets are closer to our intended target. What we would like to see happening, or what the other possibility is, the market might just keep on going up like this and breaking above this new high at 1.3471, which will also be a good opportunity for us to look for bearish opportunities right here and buying structure to continue to the upside. This is another opportunity. Or if the market do not break to the upside, like I mentioned here on this wave to the upside, but they come and they reach the intended target right here like this would also still be a great place to look for buying opportunities if we do not break to the upside, but instead we test and then continue with the pullback. This 1.3402 would be a great place to look for buying opportunities. The first demand zone here, right here, and this is the second demand zone. This would also be a great place to look for buying opportunities to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio. So traders, with that being said, this is the pound and the dollar. And with that being said, let's move over to the euro and the Canadian dollar. Again, another example that looks exactly like the euro and the dollar, which symbolizes both the strength in the euro and in the pound. Now, both these currencies are strong, which will be again explained later on the euro and the pound currency pair. Now, with that being said, let's go straight to the market and analyze what is happening. Now, very similar to what I did see on the euro and the dollar, closely related demand zone. Of course, we might come and get a bounce to the upside and then a continuation to the upside at 1.6466. This is the target going into next week, and the first demand zone level, if you want to put it down on your MT5 or your trading view, is 1.6331, 1.6310. This would be your first demand zone, 1.6310, and the second demand zone would be 1.6281. This also would be a great place to look for buying opportunities right here, to look for momentum to the upside to take out structure at 1.6466. This would also be a great place to look for or to take out profit at. Now, this would be the new high from last week. Of course, that is why we are heading in the direction of buying. And also, it shows that the strength in the euro and the strength in the pound has upticked from last week, of course. And from last week, we were bearish to the downside both on the euro and the pound, but instead the market just showed, or just the both currency pairs just gained momentum to the upside, which is why we are following what the trend is your friend, and the trend keeps you safe. So with that being said, traders, this is the first place to look for buying opportunities, and this is the second place to look for buying opportunities. But all in all, the target is 1.6466. This is your target profit for next week. So with that being said, traders, let's go straight to the pound and the Canadian dollar. So before we go to the pound and the Canadian dollar, I would like to mention that joining the real account traders community is very free. You do not pay me any cent. What you have to do is register under our exclusive XNS link and verify your account details, fund the minimum of $100 or more, and then send proof of registration to admin at WhatsApp at 068 060 5332. I do repeat those numbers: 068 060 5332. This will get you the first seat to real account trading and risk managed account, and a group of positive traders who are only trading real account. They are not here to trade demo account. They are making money week in and week out. As I've shown on the last video that we did show that people are joining from this video, of course, and maybe next week we'll have their screenshots, of course, of how it has helped them ever since they've joined. So with that being said, traders, thanks, and let's go straight to the pound and the Canadian dollar. And very simply put, what we do have right here is very similar to the pound. We are still stuck on the higher levels of this currency pair together. Both you've seen the pound and the dollar, and the pound and the Canadian dollar, they are stuck like 30% above. On if you put the Fibonacci retracement right now, you might see that it is above the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level, which still symbolizes a strong momentum to the upside. So with that being said, let's go straight to the analysis and deeper what it means. Now, with that being said, traders, this is what I would like to see: buying opportunities from this level right here, which is 1.8781. Look for bullish patterns and formations from this, and a take profit to the new high from last week, which is 1.8913. This would be a great movement to the upside if we do get valid bullish patterns and formations from these levels, or to the second supply zone right here, which is 1.8757. Also would be a great place to look for buying opportunities to take out structure at 1.8713. This also is a fantastic setup going into next week. We are still structured to the upside. From last week we were bearish, but since the market changed, we are now bullish to the upside. Remember, the key in trading is not only just clicking the buttons and everything, but it is adaptation. You have to adapt to the changing environments in the market. And with that being said, traders, this is the pound and the Canadian dollar setup. I do see this giving us one more pullback to the downside, of course, to repeat for the last time, and the overall direction until the end of the week, I would like to see the pound taking territory over the Canadian dollar, over the dollar, going into next week and taking out structure right here to make the new high from last week at 1.8913. Now, this is what I do want to see going into next week with the pound and the Canadian dollar, and the pound and the US dollar. So let me show you why last week we did mention that we will not be trading or talking about the euro and the pound going into next week, because it didn't seem like it does have direction. So let's go straight to the market and show you guys what we were talking about when we said we were not going to trade what the euro and the pound. So let's go straight to that, guys, and see what the euro and the pound have in store for us going into next week. Traders, going into last week, I did mention that I did not expect or want this from here to go down, and I wanted to see this and the continuation to the downside. But instead, at the end of the week, after making money from this level, at the end of the week, what we did have, we did have a stronger euro to the upside. And despite this being our last week's analysis, I did not change or move that analysis from that week. From the 29th of September, I did not move it to the 3rd of October. I did not move the analysis. The market has been playing within the ranges of that analysis. But what this proves is we were right from the beginning to realize that this was not making any sense at all. This was not making any sense because from the beginning of the week on Monday, the euro and the pound looked like it was still following last 2 weeks back's analysis and then continued to the downside, but it didn't have enough momentum to take out structure to make this new low. And later on, early in the morning of Tuesday, the euro again gained momentum over the pound, and on Wednesday the pound gained momentum over the euro, and on Thursday the euro gained momentum over the pound, and on Friday the pound gained momentum over the euro. Now what does that mean? It means that both these currency are equally matched. It is a 50% 50% strength, whether they are like, listen, another thing that you have to keep in mind is that you are trying to avoid currency pairs that are both weak or that are both strong. What you would like to do is combine two currency pairs, the other one weak, the other one strong. That way you will get good buying opportunities or bullish patterns and formations, and that way you will get good selling opportunities on those currency pairs. You will avoid trying to wait in the market, of course, trying to make sure that you catch each and every single wave, which is something that is going to end up being like this. The pound is strong, the euro is strong. The pound is strong, the euro is strong. The pound is strong. This is lack of direction, and without proper risk management, this can blow your account. Without proper risk management, I do repeat again, this can blow your account because this might still happen like this and then continue again to the downside. Now, what do I have in mind going into next week? I'm still not interested in this currency pair going into next week up until we see a clear break of structure right here below 0.8660. Then after this, I would know that this market finna do this and then continue to the downside. This is what I would like to see going into the markets next week. And with that being said, traders, I do want to see this break to the downside, a pullback, and then because we have breaking this to the downside, to look for selling opportunities to the downside. But it is highly unlikely as both currency pairs are still strong, and if both currency pairs are still strong, we are never going to get what we are looking for. So without getting what you are looking for in the market, you either have two choices. Number one, do what I do, ignore the currency pair. It is not necessary that you trade each and every single asset in the market. Now, or number two, you force your opinions on the market, which will end very badly without understanding or seeing that the structure itself is still in flux. Nothing else is giving you a clear direction. The market is just going up and down without any clear direction. That's what you are trying to avoid. That's what we are teaching, of course. And after registering with the Real Account Traders community, you not only get the signals, you get strategies together with a trading course that will help you see this kind of weeks coming, because we did mention that this week we are not going, last week we are not going to trade the euro and the pound, but the week before and 2 weeks back we did make money like this. If you are not sure of that, please go back to our daily videos of September. Then you will realize even before we got to this level of 0.8742, I did mention every time the market does reach that level, of course, we do get bearish patterns and formations, and the market itself does go back to selling. As I've mentioned here before, I've mentioned, and this thick blue horizontal line, of course, is that level, which is 0.8742, where the market will always continue try to go to the downside. So with that being said, traders, Make sure you do not miss any of these videos. This is a fantastic opportunity for you to still join while we are still not charging traders to join. So with that being said, traders, thank you. And let's go to the last but not least currency pair, which is the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. Traders, with the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, it's very simple. Last week we were looking for buying opportunities, and we did give this signal right on Monday that we might continue to the upside and take profit around here, and we did as intended. Of course, the trade was 1:6.06. This was the signal on the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. Now, going into this week, we are still structured to the upside very much, even though what I do see is both the US dollar and the Canadian dollar are weaker than the euro and the pound. So with that being said, what we would like to see relatively or individually on this currency pair is continuation to the upside to make the new high at 1.4079. 1.4079. This is the total structure. So we already have right here the demand zone that is being tested at 1.4009. 1.4009. Now the second demand zone right that we do have is 1.3997. But this is a very delicate situation. If the dollar persists with weakness going into the middle of this week, of course, if the dollar persists with weakness, of course, what we will like to see, or what we will see, is this kind of setup reaching the weekly break of structure, and after the reach of the weekly break of structure, to retest this previous demand zone at 1.4009, then look for selling opportunities to the downside to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio. This is only for those who are looking to sell this. You will wait for this weekly break of structure at 1.3981 and then look for a pullback. But if we do get this, we break below the weekly break of structure, a pullback will be imminent, of course, to retest this weekly break of structure that was broken by price to the downside. And then now this weekly break of structure will act as our supply zone, as we will be looking for selling opportunities from this level to continue our 1:3 risk to reward setup to the downside with the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. Now, traders, with that being said, this was a very fruitful video. Of course, for those of you who is the first time watching this, make sure you go back to the video, back test us, make sure that everything that we say, or week in and week out, what we do and what we do say we are going to do, we follow the plan accordingly and stick to the plan. And we already always do have a different or a contingency plan for different kinds of markets: buying, selling, and even sideways. And sideways, we stay out, we wait for a great pull, a great momentum on either direction, so that we can continue the trend. So traders, that is it from me this week with the weekly forex forecast. Let's meet again tomorrow, or it's Saturday today. Let's meet again Monday with the daily forex signals and analysis, so that we can dive deeper into this with a little bit of momentum in the market that has happened, of course. So that is it from me. Thanks, bye bye, and happy trading.